Hey, all, welcome to my channel. They've made some trades. I'm here basically to discuss about the trades. Basically, like the Mets entered by the trade deadline. Atop the NL East with some glaring weaknesses, which I've mentioned quite a number of times. One of them, of course, was the bullpen and the inconsistency, unfortunately, of it, and the lack of the center fielder. I mean, honestly, McNeil, as good as he is, he's not a good center fielder. Defensively speaking, they were weak in that aspect. Offensively, he was good, but that's not on McNeil's main spot. And Taylor being injured, they need someone out there basically. So, and the fact is let's be honest, their bullpen ranked 25th overall in ERA and win probability. So, adding that could, basically put it this way: by getting these bullpen rosters additions, kind of helps them out a little bit. Like one of them is basically, well, first off, let's start off with the center fielder with Cedric Mullins. I mean, honestly, that wasn't surprising per se because we knew that was something like that along the lines was going to happen because everyone was kind of mulling it about saying that Cedric Mullins makes sense. Essentially the Orioles were going to like trade him off at that point anyway, so it doesn't matter. So the question is like the deal basically for Mullins was the Mets were going to give up Anthony Nunez, Raymond Gomez, and Ramon Gomez and Chandler Nash. I mean, Nunez and Gomez were like ranked number 14 and 30th within the Mets organization as prospect wise. Of course, the one difference is like they didn't really give a hell of a lot per se to get Mullins. I mean, the other factor is Mullins is definitely going to be free agent. I mean, most of these trades that they made, most of them are going to be free agents after this season anyway. So these are kind of rental players. Thing is with this is with Mullins, even though he's 30, so kind of like peak or prime. He was a 2021 All Star and Silver Slugger. Basically, the season he's hitting around 229 and 15 home runs with about 50 RBIs in around 91 games, and also had speeds and defensive capabilities within center field itself. So it's definitely an upgrade defensively speaking compared to McNeil. When Taylor comes back, it's a whole different story, but it definitely fixes the Mets' biggest problem right now, which is basically the defensive gap that's in center field, and helps out in the aspect of like with Taylor and Winker. Even though when Winker coming back and Taylor coming back, it might help out, but they're still going to be inconsistent at that point. The one difference though is like it was even though it's three low level pitching prospects, like not part of their top 10. The problem is it's still something that could come back to bite him. Basically, like let's be honest, like what happened with the Mets when they traded for Denard at the time or Darno. Syndergaard was kind of a throw in, and look what happened with Syndergaard. He actually turned out to be good for the Mets. So I'm hoping that that's not the case here because with this trade, who knows? I have a feeling that Gomez himself might step up. I don't know. It's hard to say basically, but from a grading aspect, everyone's grading it a B plus. I might grade it as a B because it's definitely a step up. And you don't really lose much at this point, honestly, because these weren't prospects that were going to be in the majors in the next 2 years unless something changes dramatically. But these are guys that are probably going to be another 3 or 4 years basically. Now coming to the bullpen aspect of things, of course the Mets trade Tyler Rogers, right-hand reliever. They got him from the Giants, which I didn't think the Giants were willing to trade Rogers. It's just a little surprised. Now the thing is, this trade might have been a little bit expensive for the Mets because like they traded Jose Butto, Tidwell or Blake Tidwell, and Drew Gilbert. Gilbert, I don't see happening anytime soon. Tidwell and Butto's already in the majors. Tidwell, he was pretty much ready to be promoted to the start, to the majors or to the show, either this year or next year for sure. So, question is, I don't know how well Tidwell is doing. I mean, Tidwell wasn't doing so great in the minors per se, but that was based off he was coming off injury. So, this one could come back to bite the Mets. Not the fact of Drew Gilbert, because if it does, fine. I mean, he wasn't showing any promise anyways in the minors, but Budo, I think everyone was expecting more from Budo. I think he became a huge disappointment. The thing is, with the return, Rogers, we get a 1.80 ERA, and the guy leads the league in appearances, and his delivery, of course, is like a little bit different. It's one of those Submariner type of things, basically. So it's definitely tough for the hitters. His fastball is not that great. It's kind of slower compared to like 2 years ago, but he definitely adds reliability and durability in the bullpen. Now, Budo had a decent season. Let's be honest. He did have a decent season. Yeah, he was at a 3.6 ERA in 47 innings, but he wasn't. Again, I think he was more of a start. He was becoming a little bit of a disappointment. Unless next year he probably would have gotten better. I'm hoping that's like, and it was kind of sad to see Budo basically crying. Basically, it kind of reminds me about the 2015 season. I remember with what's his name? Oh, good gracious, I forgot his name. I'm drawing a brain fart on the guy that basically was crying on the field, um, who's being traded for Gomez, but then eventually got retracted back, and then of course they got Cedeno, and then the Mets went up to the World Series at that point. Oh, I forgot his name. I can see the face. I just can't remember his name. But anyways, um, it basically with this trade, with getting Rogers, it definitely gives them a really good bullpen as a result of this. Let's be honest, like that does help him out. The question is, can the Mets retain Rogers after he becomes a free agent this season? Now, the question is with Tidwell being traded as well too. He does have some upside. Let's be honest, he does have some upside. Could this come back to bite the Mets? I don't know. Only time will tell. Because everything you look at with the Mets points back to the PCA trade for rentals that didn't help out in the long term anyway. So hopefully this does work. Only time will tell basically at that point. Everyone's kind of grading this as an A minus more than anything else. I want to see it's probably a B plus because quite honestly, I think we did give too much for Rogers basically, especially if Rogers walks the season and the Mets don't go into the World Series. I think we gave up too much for that. And now, of course, the other reliever we got was Ryan Helsley, basically. Another right-handed pitcher of closer type arm. So he's good. He's going to be more of a setup man more than anything else. Cardinals, we expected the Cardinals to be sellers, and the fact that the Mets gave up Baez or Jesus Baez, Nate Dome, and Frank Elistat. I mean, it doesn't seem we gave up that much, quite honestly. I don't think it was a hell of a lot that we lost in that situation. The thing is like, with Helsley, he was kind of an all-star reliever at one point. I led the majors at one point in 49 saves in 2024 and has 21 saves for this year, but at 3.0 ERA. So he's kind of going on the downslide of it, but maybe coming with the Mets, it might change a little bit. And you know what? Diaz not always can be the closer. Maybe Ryan Helsley could be that guy as well too, or definitely a good setup man. Only time will tell at that point. And it definitely helps out in the late inning aspects as well too. But the only thing is like I don't know what to say exactly with this because like everyone's grading this as kind of a B because we give up a lot of prospect capital for this, but it definitely fills out that bullpen issue that we have, especially with the win now aspect of things more than anything else. We didn't really surrender again another top 10 tier of prospects, but who knows? I'm hoping this turns out to be good for us and it doesn't come back to bite us. Now the other aspect is earlier we got also what's his name Gregory Soto from of course Baltimore as well too, and all we got left gave up was basically Wellington Aracena and Cameron Foster. So I have to look it up to see what it was. I mean, again, you definitely, improve the bullpen roster at this point. So, like, we didn't give up much for him. He definitely adds durability into the bullpen as well, too. But the only difference is he was still kind of not so great. I mean, possible if he could have gotten Bednar instead of Soto, that would have been great as well, too. But Bednar would have been perfect for us as well, too. But, it's only time will tell. I mean, what this do, I think why these moves actually matter is because with Soto, Rogers, and Helsley plus Diaz, now you kind of have I don't want to say the best, but you kind of boast the best late inning bullpen in baseball, honestly. And this definitely takes a lot of pressure off the starters because, like, let's be honest, the starters are not going full length into the innings. So by adding Soto at that point as well, too, like, it does help out for innings 6, 7, and 8 basically to get to Diaz, which is 9. So the starters can go up to 5 innings. If 6, that's great because the Mets have no durability. And the other aspect is Holmes. He's doing decent, but I think he's on the downturn now because he's getting tired out. So we might have to shift him to the bullpen, and we'll see what happens with Blackburn honestly as well too. But only time will tell. The only thing that we kind of didn't lose as much on the prospect at, like our top 10, but it could come back to haunt us because, like, let's be honest, PCA wasn't a top 10 at that time as well too, and look where he is now. It comes to the point like we were selling out some of our prospects for a rental, and both Mullins and Rogers, both are they're expiring at this point, and if the Mets fall short and they depart, it's definitely not looking good for the Mets in this aspect. Now the fact is like with Baez and Tidwell, if they do become great stars and we missed out on them, I mean, it's 2020 hindsight, right? And the other factor is like I was hoping for the Mets to bolster up their starting rotation as well too, because like that was another going issue is like their starting rotation, but it looks like they're gonna have to go inside basically and like from the minors maybe. I have a feeling that they're gonna. I'm not a feeling, but they're most likely gonna have to bring up Sprout, even though Stearns doesn't like to bring his minor leaguers immediately to start. He'd rather start them off in the bullpen and then build them up. Only time will tell at this point. It's definitely the bullpen definitely got massively upgraded, and with the good, let's be honest, with a good bullpen, you definitely have a legitimate shot because we saw with the Dodgers as well last year. Like the Dodgers, they went with that for every game. They went with the bullpen kind of inning basically, or bullpen game basically, where they just went with the bullpen for one game and then just kept going on at that point. So the Mets might have to do that at that point as well too, which could work out at this point. Am I happy about this trade? Yes, but with a little caution because the fact is like, let's be honest, the fact that when we lost Budo and basically Tidwell for Rogers, I think that might have been too much. Probably could have traded Budo and maybe Vientos or Batty. I hate to say this, but like now we got an influx of outfielders and infielders. Mauricio's coming into his own. McNeil now, because of the fact that we get Mullins, basically McNeil has to come back to second base, which means now Batty and McNeil are like, basically platooning second base. And Batty will probably be platooning third base as well too every now and then. But you got Vientos and Mauricio at third base. And the other aspect is like you got Marte now as well too. So like, and then Winker coming back and Taylor coming back. What do you do then? And then of course you got Acuna as well too. And then the other aspect is like, let's be honest, it's like, do you platoon the DH as well too, like McNeil and Marte for the DH? Because McNeil is definitely a good DH person, but the problem is, it's like you got too many players now. I mean, it's a good problem to have. Question is like Vientos, if he comes back to his own and comes back to 2024 form, I mean, they become a dangerous team. And then if Mauricio develops as he's supposed to develop, problem is like, what do you do then? Because like Mauricio and Vientos are third basemen. Batty's kind of a third baseman, but now he's playing more second base. But it's hard to say unless you're preparing. The only thing I can think of is the reason why they didn't trade Vientos and Batty or Batty for that matter is they're anticipating Alonso to leave the Mets. If Pete Alonso leaves the Mets, they should have traded him for prospects then, honestly. But time will only tell at this point. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. What do you guys think? Do you think that this works out for the Mets, or I'm hoping, of course, that they go into the World Series, of course. But the problem is the way what the Padres did as well too, and the Phillies. The Mets might have to play against the Phillies or Padres in the wild card spot. I think I have not the Phillies either. Actually depend. Well, no, sorry, it's either going to be the Mets or Phillies that's going to clinch the East anyways. So it's a question of like they're either going to have to go beat the Padres or Phillies, one of those two, because like those two teams have dramatically improved. The Cubs, they're good, but I don't think they're going to clinch. Brewers are probably going to win. LA is probably going to win at this point as well too and clinch the NL West. So everything's probably going to have to go through the Dodgers anyways. It's just a matter of like, do the Mets have enough weapons to basically advance into the World Series? That's a question which we have to determine at that point. Let me know your thoughts about it. Basically, what do you think? Like, do you think this works out for the Mets? Do you think this is enough for them to get them over a hump into the World Series, or do you think the Mets fell short a little bit and they should have gotten more starter as well too? I do read my comments. I do respond to them when they warrant a response. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, I ask you if you can subscribe. With that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, of course, always unrehearsed. Until next time.